Hello and welcome back to the No Gluten Zone. Today I am making baked donuts. This is a recipe I've had for many, many years. It was actually originally made with wheat flour, and I have converted this over to gluten-free because I loved them so much. So I'm going to share it with you today and share the original as well as the gluten-free because it's not a big difference. Very easy to convert. I just want to interrupt your video for one quick moment. YouTube is telling me that the majority of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel. So if that's you, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, I would like to ask you to please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's totally free. And if you hit the bell icon, you will be notified of videos I upload in the future. And if you enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you don't like it, give me a thumbs down. That really helps me plan my content in the future. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Now back to your video. So the only change I'm making in this recipe is the flour, and the original recipe called for a pastry flour. And I did buy that and I did use that. It just is a finer, starchier type of flour, gives you a different texture result. And so how I convert that into gluten-free is per cup of flour, I add 2 tablespoons of a starch. You could use cornstarch, potato starch, tapioca starch, probably arrowroot as well. Today I'm using tapioca starch. So to make this very simple, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of tapioca starch in my 1 cup measuring cup. Then I'm going to continue to fill it the rest of the way with my flour. Today I'm using a 1-to-1 flour blend because this was originally done with a wheat flour, and that is probably the best conversion you could do, is to use a 1-to-1 when you're converting a recipe. But in the past, I didn't have a 1-to-1. When I first went gluten-free, that didn't even exist. But in the past, I did just use my brown rice flour mix. Those are my 2 big flour mixes that I use. It's either my brown rice flour mix or my 1-to-1. And I do have videos on both of those. I will link them in the description box because you can use either one, but today I'm going to use my 1-to-1. So I'm going to finish filling the rest of this with the 1-to-1 flour. And then for the other cup, this does call for 2 cups of flour. The other cup, I'm going to show you another way that you could measure this out if you prefer that. So 2 tablespoons is a 1/8 of a cup. So I'm going to do 1/8 of a cup of my starch. So then 2 more tablespoons of my flour is going to put me at a 1/4 cup now. So now I need 3/4 cup more of the flour. So I'm going to do a 1/2 and a 1/4. You could just do 3 of the quarters if you so wish. But I always say there is just so much math in the kitchen. It's unbelievable. So there's my 1/2. And there's my 1/4. So next up, I'm going to add 3/4 cup of sugar. And then 2 tablespoons of baking powder. If the flour mix you're using does not contain a gum, this is where I would recommend adding 1.5 teaspoons of a gum, xanthan gum, guar gum, psyllium husk, one of those types of things. But because my 1-to-1 flour blend already contains that, I'm not going to add that this time. But when I do make this with my brown rice flour mix, I do add the gum. And then I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. You could do less or you could do more. It just depends on how you like it. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. So that completes our dry ingredients. I'm just going to whisk them all together with a whisk. So this recipe calls for buttermilk, 3/4 cup of buttermilk. You could totally use buttermilk, or you could use a milk with a buttermilk powder, however you prefer to do it. But one great way to do it is to add vinegar to regular milk. And you can do this with plant-based milks as well. You could even use water and just add vinegar to it, but it does work better with a milk, even including a plant-based milk. So how you do that is per cup of milk, you use 1 teaspoon of vinegar. So this is 3/4 cup of milk. So I'm going to do 3/4 teaspoon of vinegar. So I put the vinegar in the measuring cup and then top it off the rest of the way to the measurement with the milk. I'm using apple cider vinegar, but I'm sure you can use whatever vinegar you prefer. 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4 teaspoon. So now I'm gonna just fill that to the 3/4 cup mark. And you just kind of want to stir it to combine it and give it a minute to just sort of sit and let that milk curdle. Okay, so we have our dry ingredients here, and to this we're going to add the buttermilk. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of oil and 2 lightly beaten eggs. You could totally do this without a stand mixer. You could do it by hand. You do not want to overmix this dough. So 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm using avocado oil, but just use whatever light neutral flavored oil you prefer. We have 2 lightly beaten eggs. I am using room temperature eggs. It is highly recommended for gluten-free baking that you make sure your eggs are room temperature when you add them. And our 3/4 cup of buttermilk. This is where I wish smell could be conveyed through the camera, because that nutmeg smell is like, oh, smells like donuts. I always say nutmeg is the donut spice. So I'm going to bake these in these donut pans. These are made by Wilton, and I originally bought these years ago, and they came with the recipe that I'm using. You could totally spray these with oil. I have done that and it works well. But when I want to make absolutely sure something is not going to stick, I use my magic cake release. I will actually do a video on this in the future. This is something they used to sell in stores. I'm not sure if they still do or not, but it's for sure not gluten-free. And so I started making my own gluten-free version. And all you do is you mix equal parts of shortening, oil, and flour together. That's it. I keep it in this jar. It seriously keeps forever. And I just dab a brush in here. I always use this for bundt cakes, because most cakes and things I just put parchment in the pan, but when it's like a bundt cake or something like this where you cannot parchment it, that's when I use this. So I get it all over the brush and I just go in here and brush it on. You could totally use, a paper towel or even your hand if you wanted. You don't have to use a brush. I just feel like the brush really gets in there nicely. And then you just want to be really gentle as you put it in and keep it off of the little center part. Okay, I have all the dough into the pan. I'm just going to smooth it out and shape it really nice. Okay, they are all in the pan. I smoothed them out as nicely as I can and cleaned off all the centers and outside edge. I'm going to bake these at 425 degrees for 7 to 9 minutes. Then it's very important that you let them sit in the pan and cool down in the pan for at least 4 to 5 minutes before you flip them out. So I will do all that and check back in with you later and show you how I'm going to proceed with these. Okay, these were done in 7 minutes. Like I said, 7 to 9 minutes, check them. And they puffed up nicely. I'm gonna let them cool for, they say 45 minutes. I'm gonna give them a good 5 minutes before I flip them out, and then we'll proceed. So I'm gonna leave half of these donuts plain because I really love plain donuts. Back in the day, I used to buy, I don't even know if they still make them or if Vandy Camps is still around, but they used to sell the Vandy Camps plain cake donuts in a box in the grocery stores. And I loved those. And these remind me so much of those. So I'm going to leave half of them plain. The other half, I'm going to make them into cinnamon donuts. And I will show you how to do that. But you can actually get any donut glaze recipe out there on the internet that you're looking for, and you can glaze these in any way you want to. So I love this. This is my smallest saucepan, and it is the perfect size for putting one of these in here. So I'm going to melt butter in here. You could totally do a butter alternative of your choice. And I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of butter in here melted. Then you're going to put the donut in here and kind of swirl it into the butter. Then I'm going to have a bowl with cinnamon sugar in it. I'm using 2 teaspoons of cinnamon with 6 tablespoons of sugar to make my cinnamon sugar. You can also just totally dip them in powdered sugar for the powdered sugar donuts. Sometimes I find it easier just to put the powdered sugar in a zipper bag and put the donut in there and just shake it all up so it just clings without making mess. So they do come out a little different color on each side. So if I'm going to just glaze one side or powder one sugar one side, I do the lighter side because I feel like this color looks kind of nicer than this one. This is the top. This is the part that's inside the pan. But see, both pans, nothing stuck. The magic cake release is amazing. Okay, I have melted the butter. I'm going to put the cinnamon topping on this lighter side of the donut. So I'm going to put that face down in here and just kind of swirl it in there. And then I'm going to put it into the cinnamon sugar and swirl it in there. And voila. Isn't that beautiful? So we'll do number 2. So beautiful. And so there you have. It's actually really quick and easy. I have a whole dozen donuts here, half of them plain, half of them cinnamon sugar, and they are fantastic. I hope you try this recipe. Please leave me a comment down below if you do and let me know how it turned out, how you liked it. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys, and God bless you.